Hi guys, James here from chronic fatigue syndrome, my friend, my enemy, my constant companion. What's up, what's down, what's sideways? Thank you very much for joining me for day 28, 38, 38, do not go backwards, 38. You'll also notice that my hair has been volumizing. Yes, it has two states, this and not this. I think the word's bouffant. Yes, it's a fun word to say. Um, I was I don't really plan these. This is all about just getting something out there, sharing something, or a lesson, or this or that. Um, and and yeah, I don't know if this affects other people, but with especially with how with me and chronic fatigue syndrome, I noticed that there's a lot of amplification of how one feels sometimes. So, I don't feel it's not tired. It's fatigued. If I feel sleepy, it's my eyes are closing. I can't strong will them open for too much longer. Uh, you know, if they're not like kind of dull background noise, they can be quite amplified. Like sadness can be quite amplified. Anxiety can be amplified. Fear. I don't have fear so much. Um, it's not a the I my fear would be more of loss than fear of like I don't know something you fear. Or unreasonable fear, like having to repeat high school. Like, no, that kind of thing. Uh, and I don't like, cockroaches and spiders, but it's not so much fear as hatred, like pure hatred. Spiders, because they're killed by poison, that's very, like, from a martial arts point of view, that's not fair. I trained all my life and you give me a little bite and then I die. That's just not right. And cockroaches because, they're wrong. So it's more like hatred than fear of those things. Um, and then, yeah, so pain is amplified. Like there's so many different pains. Uh, if you're not familiar with pain, then good. But there are so many different kinds of pains. There's too many different kinds of pains. Um, Anger is another one, like serious, um, coursing through your veins anger, just pure, undiluted anger. Um, that physically feel it moving through your body, whether that's just a mental thing or not. The sensations there, and I think for me that most probably came about because, like as I mentioned before, if you get something like this as an adult, it's very hard for you to express yourself. And sometimes we don't express ourselves in a positive way, we can become self destructive. And you look at people, how they'll abuse certain things on the internet, uh, video games, movies, even books, doesn't matter, alcohol, drugs, they'll abuse something um, because they don't have a way of expressing what the actual problem is and resolving it. Well, imagine that for a child. They have less years on this planet, less experience, less ability to communicate problems. So I think for me, it kind of stems from childhood and then it just carried over. Like there's very few ways of positively expressing oneself with chronic fatigue syndrome. Um, Me helping others and like I said in my first video, like I've got a whole bunch of sad that's just sitting here, and it would be very easy for it to be self-destructive, or uh, um, so either self-destructive for me or self-sabotaging or just destructive, self-destructive or just being destructive. Um, but it's just there. It's very intense. So the thing about learning to control yourself with CFS is that you kind of put a controlling lockdown on everything. It's just a blanket controlling lockdown. So, how you're feeling, you just gotta clamp down on it and just control it. How you're thinking, the thoughts, everything, um, and then the actions that get through, and the thoughts that get through, and the words that get through, like the leakage side, they can be quite damaging sometimes, either for yourself or those around you, um, or or thankfully sometimes they just come out quietly, like really quietly, and people won't notice them. But if you're aware of yourself, you go like, "Ooh, something's up." So as a child, didn't quite have this clamp down control over as many things as I do now. But the problem with absolute control is that it still doesn't resolve the issue. There's like you basically just getting a bottle and shaking up, like a soft drink bottle and shaking it up, and hoping that the lid doesn't come off or something like that. Like it overflows at some point. It leaks at some point. You can't lock it down 24/7, years and 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 years. So it does come out somehow. Um, my whole life with chronic fatigue syndrome, and then into martial arts, learning to control yourself, there's that double-edged sword of controlling yourself to the point where you don't let anything out long enough to resolve it. And then you let it build and build and build, and when it does come out, it's horrendous. And it's just not productive. And sometimes can affect you physically, mentally, and emotionally. I know like mental and emotionally are usually link them, but mentally you could feel attacked, and then emotionally you feel a thing, even though you can't put like, where do you feel it emotionally? I feel it here. Well, what's there? It's your lungs. So that kind of thing, and the catch to it is that by not letting it out, you don't let it resolve so much, and you clamp down on actually feeling the moment. So if you're in pain your entire life, you become sensitized. Sensitized, I think it's the word sensitized. Like you become desensitized to that. With anger, your brain can just keep producing the anger hormones, and until you retrain the brain, you just keep releasing it. I had a very big issue with that. I was constantly angry. There was not a time in the day I was not angry, and I'm not saying that I'm don't experience that anger still daily or regularly, but it's not to the same intensity and it's not the same regularity. I was able to do something that helped me manage it somewhat. But the catch side to everything is that by that amplification, and it makes it feel worse, it takes away from like, what are you really feeling like now? Are you really feeling this, or has it been amplified? You feel awful, that's a given, but is it really as bad as this, or is it just compiled? So, um, it's okay to feel all those things, but it's important that you try and find ways of either expressing those pent up emotions, or not letting them build to the point where they leak out and become destructive. I've had that happen, like consciously, a few times in my life, where I haven't been on a I've been haven't had a handle on myself. It's come out, and it's like being drugged coming out of an operation. Like it's like you're another person, another world, and you do stuff that if you're in a normal state you'd go, mm not optimal, not optimal. Don't do that again. However, the damage is already done, and then that causes like, oh, I did not do the most optimal thing, and then that creates its own little lovely destructive cycle. And this goes for normal people too. I just want to put out that because chronic fatigue syndrome people, like, you keep coming across it online. It's just they forget that they are human too, and they experience the same human things as normal people. They just have CFS chucked on top of it. So, and that kind of like that altered state, that suboptimal altered state that I was talking about, that's not necessarily something that might last an hour or so. I've had it last for months, even a year or so. Like coming out of it was like a dream, and it was awful. I look back and like, no, 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 no. And now I have to deal with the fact that I did something I might not normally do, and that could be anything to like your mental state or physical action. It doesn't matter. So just be careful with your chronic fatigue syndrome. If you are experiencing those heightened states of emotions, that yes, it's good to learn to control yourself, but more swap it from control to direct. So I'll go back. I don't think I completed the sentence. At the start of this first video, I said I had a lot of sad. I needed to direct it somewhere. Because I know that it is having an adverse effect on me, on my health, and my brainscape. So I look to do something that's as productive as possible with that energy, as opposed to letting it turn inwards and something else, because it's all energy. And I don't mean like some mystical force. I just mean like it is all some sort of force that I have to then choose what to direct it into. So it won't necessarily stop me from feeling bad or sad or angry or upset or ill or sick or fatigued. But how I direct the energy how I respond to that energy is always up to me. And so I consciously try and point it into something that's going to be productive. I don't always succeed. Sometimes fail miserably, but it's the thing of constantly doing it, not giving up because it didn't work once. If I was to have given up at the very start, I most probably wouldn't be here today. I'd be dead. Or dead. Yeah, or a vegetable. I don't know if that's politically correct. I would be incompatible with life. Yes. So I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have been able to help everyone that I have helped. So that wasn't a thing that if I had given up, if I had tried once and failed, which I did, if I had stopped then I wouldn't be here. So it's a constant work. Okay, it's okay to muck up. Just try and learn from your mistakes and don't do it again. And as much as you can, own what you did and move on. I don't have a bad joke today because Oh, wait. If I had a DeLorean, I'd most probably use it from time to time. Hopefully that was a good delivery. Anyway, thank you very much for letting me share with you day 38. I hope you guys are having a good day, as good as your good days are. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Comment below, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, and thank you very much for letting me share with you about chronic fatigue.